Good morning and welcome to Charlie's Corner. It's almost Valentine's Day, and so that's something that I'd like to talk about because Valentine's Day is actually one of my favorite holidays. So grab yourself a cup of coffee and let's get started. Now, Valentine lived around 270-ish AD, and he lived in Rome, and he was trying to convert the Romans over to Christianity. So the emperor put him in prison and executed him. And while he was in prison, he actually cured the jailer at the prison had a daughter who was blind, and he cured the girl's blindness. But after he was executed, he became a martyr, and so the church celebrated a feast for him every year. It wasn't until about the 1500s that it became associated with romantic love. And with that comes one of the all-time greats in English literature, William Shakespeare. And I'm going to read you a passage, his description of what love is. And it's Sonnet 116, written about 1609. And it goes, "Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love, which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever fixed mark that looks upon tempest and is never shaken. It is the star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. Love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. If this be error, and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved." I love that sonnet. Shakespeare had a way with words, and that's a very good description of real love. So let's move on. We'll start with girlfriends. I'm not going to name them all, but I will name Cindy. My very first girlfriend I had when I was 9 years old, and her name was Cindy Getchell. And my brother Dave actually married us in our backyard. You know, the little kids. They had a formal ceremony and everything. And but we ended up moving away. We lived in Oxnard, California at the time, and we ended up moving away to Lancaster, and never heard from her again. Before we left, I actually took a quarter. I had a quarter. That's a month's worth of allowance at that time, a month. And I went down and I put it in a little machine, like one of those little gumball machines you can get toys. And I got a ring. It was a little red ring, and it had a little Gemini symbol on it. And I took that ring down I was going to tell Cindy that we were moving, and knocked on the door. Her mom came to the door. She had asked for Cindy. Is Cindy home? And And she said no, she was off visiting with her dad. I guess her parents were divorced or something. She was visiting with her dad. She wasn't home. So I gave the ring to her mother to give to her. And I left. And it turned out her mother mentioned she was a Gemini. And but anyways, never seen her again. We moved to Lancaster, and that was it. Now, I dated a girl over in Tasmania, Australia, and she liked elephants. And so I painted this picture for her. And she had a little son. He was like 6 or 7 years old. He was autistic. And so I painted a picture of this is called A Mother's Love. And you see the little tiny elephant right here. There's the baby right there with the mommy. And I painted that for her. And I got a story about her and elephants. Now, this girlfriend and I, we used to like to walk on the beach. We used to walk down at Baker's Beach in Tasmania. And she liked to collect seashells. And so I bought her a ring. As I mentioned before, she liked elephants. And so I bought her a golden band, and it had 3 elephants in it. One for me, one for her, and one for her son. And I went down to the beach one day, and I found a clamshell that had both sides to it. And so I put the ring inside the clamshell, and then I kind of super glued it shut. And then her and I were walking along the beach one day, and we saw this piece of driftwood, and so we sat down to have a rest during our walk. Well, while we're talking and she wasn't looking, I took the shell out of my pocket and let it drop to the ground. And in the painting, most people won't notice, but right there's a little clamshell right there. And that's the clamshell that I dropped out of my pocket. We got done talking, and we got up and started to leave, and she spotted the shell, and she picked it up, and she's like, "Oh, look, it's got both sides." And then it rattled, and so she shook it, and it rattled, and she says, "There's something inside it." And so I go, "Well, here, see what's inside it." And I pulled a pocket knife out of my pocket, opened it up, handed it to her, and she pried it open, and the ring was inside. And so there was another girl. This was after I came back from Australia. And good Lord, I fell for that girl. Oh, I probably don't think I'm still over that one. But I met her. She made a comment on a old shipmate's Facebook, and I made a comment first, and then she made a comment. We started talking, and then we ended up getting together. But I was down in Florida, and she was up in Boston. I was in St. Augustine, Florida. She was up there in Massachusetts, and so we talked for hours and hours and hours at night. And a big thing was for us to both go outside and look at the moon. And, even though we had all this geography between us, we were looking at the same moon at the same time. And that was a thing. She ended up coming down, flying down eventually. And we used to walk on the beach there at St. Augustine. And I dated her for a couple years. And let me show you. I have a couple paintings that I did for her. Let me show you. This painting is called The Resolution, and I painted this for her. We have the beach that we first were on down in St. Augustine. Here's the moon that we used to look at together. And then I got this little clock here, and the time on the clock is the time that I very first saw her, when she flew down. And the moment I first laid eyes on her, That was the time. It was 10 minutes till 9. And so I made up this painting for her. Near the end of our relationship, I was hurting pretty bad. And this here is a painting I did at that time, and it's called the Bridge of Hope. And this is actually a real bridge, and it is called the Bridge of Hope, and it runs from, I think, Portsmouth, Rhode Island, the town we lived in. I can't remember the town we lived in. Anyways, that was, this bridge is for real, and I painted it, Bridge of Hope. But it didn't work out. I'm a little bit different, if you haven't noticed already. I love romance. Guys usually don't like romance. I love romance. Romance is fun. It's I don't get tired of it. It's just fun to do romantic things. And I've done, even with girls that I've never developed a romantic relationship with. All right, for instance, when I was going to college at Oregon State University, we had Secret Santa, and it was a co-ed dorm that I was staying in at that time. This is before I got in my fraternity. And so there was this girl, I was her Secret Santa. And so what I did for her is give her the 12 days of Christmas. For 12 days, each day before Christmas, I gave her one of the things from, the 12 days of Christmas. Instead of, I made things up, okay? And like on the third day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 3 French hens. All right, instead of 3 French hens, I gave her 3 French pens. I bought 3 like big pens, and then I painted little faces on them and put a little mustache on each one and a little beret on each pen. I gave her 3 French pens. Yeah, it was hilarious. And and the 5th day, 5 golden rings. Well, I went down to the pet store and I bought her 5 goldfish, and I had them in a plastic bag, 5 goldfish, and I taped them to her door of her dorm room, right? And then I waited down the passageway out of sight, right? And I could hear all the way down from the other end of the thing going, "Oh my God!" 5 goldfish. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Romance is fun. Another time I had a lot of fun with romance. Let me show you this. Okay. I used to work at a nursing home called Rubicon Grove, and as a carer, believe it or not. And they were all females, of course, right? It's a female dominated occupation. And so this is in Shearwater, Tasmania, over in Australia. And so see, all these girls are the girls that I work with, right? And it might be kind of blurry, you can't see it. Look, there's my dumb butt right back here in the back. The only guy with all these girls. Oh, they were pretty. I never had any romantic relationship with them, but it was awesome working with these girls. They were just a great bunch of girls to work with. I love every one of them. But Australians, I don't know if they do now, but at that time, they didn't celebrate Valentine's Day, but they saw it on TV, right? So American girls are getting all this stuff, they get dinner, they get flowers, they get candy, and their guys are buying them all this stuff. Well, over in Australia, all their girlfriends all their boyfriends and their husbands, they're not doing anything for Valentine's Day, right? And so every Valentine's Day, what I would do is I would buy a great big box of Cadbury chocolates and a dozen roses and a Valentine's Day card, and I would put it in the nurse's office for all the girls, and I wrote on it, "To all my girls, love Charlie." They call me Charlie. I love Charlie. And so that the girls got flowers and candy for Valentine's Day because their boyfriends and husbands wouldn't do it. I don't know what the boyfriends and husbands thought of me, but the girls loved me for it. They absolutely loved it. And it was a lot of fun doing it. So now we come to marriage. And I am an expert on marriage. I mean, I've been married 3 times. I have more experience than anyone that I know. Now that my mom and dad are both passed away, who had more experience than I did with marriage. But it's kind of funny how ironic I was kind of put in my place because when I was a young teen, I was always upset at my mom and my dad for being married for so many times. My dad was married 7 times. My mom was married 5, okay? And I was really mad at them. And I thought, when I grow up, I'm going to show them how it's done. I'm going to do it right. This is how you're going to do it. I had it all worked out. This is what's going to happen. Well, I met my first wife. I was 16. She was 15. We worked for the forestry service up in... she was going to Colton High School, and I was at Estacada. We were working above Estacada. We worked through the summer, and we got married. After that summer, we ended up getting married June 9th, actually. I know all my anniversaries. June 9th for my first one. But that only lasted 2 years, and I'm not going to go into that because I don't want any negativity here. But my second wife, that's kind of a funny story. That was about 10 years later. I'd been single for about 10 years. So I'm working at Plaid Pantry, going to college. I'm going to college at this time, and I'm working at Plaid Pantry, a Quickie Mart. And there's me and this guy are working behind the counter, right? And right next door was a Domino's Pizza. And all the time when we're working, we see this cute little blonde thing. She's just a tiny little blonde, just beautiful. And she come running out with a pizza in her hand like this here, and she'd jump, and she had this old beat up like Toyota Celica or something, a Toyota Corolla maybe. Anyways, and she would jump and slide across the hood, open the driver's door, jump in, and boom, she's off like a rocket. And she'd come back in and run back around, and she's like freaking Batman or something, Anyway, she used to come into the store, and she always got a Diet Coke and an Atomic Fireball. It's a hot jawbreaker. And so this guy, we knew she was going to come in eventually. This guy goes, "Look, I want to ask this girl out, but I don't know how to ask her for her phone number." I go, "Well, just ask her." And he goes, "Oh, I can't. And I go, "Here, I'll show you." So this girl comes in. She gets her Diet Coke, sets it on the counter, and her Atomic Fireball. And I ring it up, and I go, "That'll be $1.85 and your phone number." And she's like, "What?" And I handed her a piece of paper and a pen. I go, $1.85 and your phone number. And she writes her name and her number down, gives it to me, grabs her Diet Coke and her Fireball, boom, out the door, right? And the guy comes over to me. He's like, "Yes, that was great." And he reaches for the phone number, and I'm like, "No, dude, I said, that's my phone number. If you want her phone number, you're going to have to ask for it." I said, I'm asked, I got this phone number. It's mine. And I called her. And that following Friday, we were supposed to go out boating, water skiing. But that following Saturday, she called me Friday and said she couldn't make it because her horse got out of the pen, broke down the fence. And so I spent that Saturday helping her dad fix the fence for a horse. And that was our first date, was me helping her dad fix the fence. And long story, but we ended up getting married and having some children. And then on to the next one. Okay, my third wife, I actually met her online. She lived over in Tasmania, Australia. And we ended up talking for about 3 months. She flew over and she stayed with me for 3 months, and then I flew over there to Tasmania and stayed at her place, met her parents and everything, who hated me at first. But then her grandfather actually really liked me. And because her grandfather liked me, the rest of the family, accepted me. And we ended up getting married, and I think we were married about 6 years. First marriage was June 9th. Second marriage was October 17th. And then the third marriage was August 27th. And so see, I still remember their birthdays, but I don't need to go into that. I got a poem that I wrote, and I'm going to read it. And it's about marriages that don't really pan out. And it's called In Days Begun. And it goes, in days begun, I was lover, I was friend. I would be with you to the very end. What do you know about the man you've made your mate? Can you feel the wounds as you're yelling words of hate? I'm still beside you, I'm still the one. I'm still in love with you just like in days begun. All too often, I'm alone day and night. We get together and all we do is fight. People talk, they breed discontent. They'll make you wonder where our love went. You know I've been with you from the start. Two people come together with one beating heart. Think of tomorrow, dream of better things. Remember a love bound by 3 golden rings. I'm still beside you, I'm still the one. I'm still in love with you just like in days begun. And like I said before, I went into every single one of those marriages. Nobody goes into a marriage thinking they're going to get divorced. I thought, each time I went in that marriage, I thought that was it till the day I died. And just didn't work out that way. So, I have to get better at making choices. All right, so how can I conclude this? What can I say about Valentine's Day? Keep on loving, all right? Don't let past relationships deter you from someone who might actually love you back. You got to keep on trying. If you don't keep on trying, you're never going to get there. I learned that marriage isn't bad. People give me the razz because they say, I would get married again. Why? Marriage isn't the thing that's bad. All right? The choices I'd made are bad. Marriage is actually a very good thing. And I'm going to leave you now with the last thing, what I've learned, everything I know about women. All right? This is everything I know about women. You all have a good Valentine's Day, and I hope you have someone close to cuddle up with. And be sure and like, share, comment if you like. And I will see you next time on Charlie's Corner.